Hi guys, it's RBB. We have a quick one for you today. I want to talk about the transform tool. In Photoshop, when I bring in an image and it's on its own layer, so I brought in these bricks. This is just a copyright-free image, a CC image that I got from Pexels.com. And when I brought this image in and labeled my layer bricks, generally transform means that we are going to move, scale, or rotate. To move something in Photoshop is as easy as making sure the layer is selected, grabbing our move tool up here at the top, it's the little directional arrow guy, and then clicking and dragging on my layer and moving it around wherever I wanted to. So I can put it wherever I want to in my image. So that covers move pretty easy. But the scale and rotate need to be handled a little differently, and that's where our transforms are going to come in. Now there's not specifically, well, actually there may be, but I've never used it, a transform tool as there are in some other programs, but where we find transform in Photoshop is under edit. Now, if you go to edit and you go to transform to free transform, you'll see Control T. Now this is one of my favorite hotkeys. Control T will bring up these little anchors right here. Okay, and remember, you only have so many clicks and then you die. So if I can bring up something in a hotkey rather than clicking on a menu, clicking on a tool, clicking on a layer, that's a few more clicks I've got in my life. So if I hit Control T, it'll bring up these control anchors. And if I grab any one of these anchors, it will change the size, it'll change the scale, and it will keep in proportion. Okay, so you see that my bricks are getting bigger. As my image gets bigger, the bricks are getting smaller. Okay, it stays in aspect ratio, it stays in scale. I can go by the corners here, I can go by the top and bottom, but basically I can transform the scale with this free transform tool. And if I hover just outside of the corners, I get my little rotational tool and I can click and rotate and change the rotation of this. So move, scale, and rotate. Boom, we got those done super quick. When you're done transforming a layer or an object or whatever you're working on, you have to tell Photoshop you're done. And to do that, you either hit enter or you accept the changes right up here in the control panel. I can reject the changes or I can accept the changes. So when I click on the little check mark right there, I've accepted the changes and now I can go on and do something else. I do want to show you though, even though I've done move, scale, and rotate, that there are a couple other kind of neat transform tools. Now generally these I wind up bringing up from the edit menu because as I've said before, 2 keys is a hotkey, 3 or more is yoga, and so I'm not going to toggle through all of them by hitting Shift Control T. But you see here that I've got scale and rotate, which we already knew, we've already done that, okay? But we've got a few others. We've got skew, distort, and perspective. Let's see what those do. So skew is going to bring up my little anchors, and when I click on any one of my controls here and drag to the side, it's going to skew it. Okay, now it might snap in proportions, it's okay. This one, honestly, I don't know that I've ever used this because it does just that. Like I think I'm, just about right, and then it snaps. But this is what skew does, okay? If I grab it in the middle, it's going to shift back and forth like this and sort of skew it. Okay, like it's no longer straight, it's kind of skewed. Not sure why you would use that, but there you go. I'm going to reject this and say, I reject you, skew. And it's going to put it back to normal. Let's look at the next one. Under transform, we've got distort. Now this one's kind of neat. This one you might hear in other programs called like a pin it tool, pin. Because I can take these corners and I can drag them out. Now these corners are stuck in place. I can take this corner and I can drag it to here, and maybe this one needs to come to this point and this one needs to come to this point. It's like I'm stretching out this flexible material. This is a great transform tool if I'm trying to put something, let's say, on a television screen on my image or on a laptop image. I can simply take my image and pin it. And you can see that the lines sort of change in perspective as well, but I could pin it to that laptop image and make it appear as though it were actually on that device or on the wall or whatever I wanted, okay? So that's distort, and that's pretty helpful. I'm gonna reject that one. Boop, okay. Always helps to say boop. And back to transform again. Perspective is a little bit old school, and I think that I would rather use distort to put something in perspective, but what this is going to do in perspective is it's going to allow me to, the middle one's going to allow me to sort of skew like it did before. But now when I grab these corner ones, it's going to move as though I'm changing the perspective. So now it looks like I'm sort of looking along the wall and it's receding toward a vanishing point. It's receding in perspective. This breaks pretty easy, not like crashes, but let's say I try to make this too small and like cover a whole fence. Look how gigantic these bricks become. And that's very unrealistic in poor Photoshop. So it works a little bit, okay, but it's, to me, this isn't very helpful. I still think I would still use distort. But now I want to show you the coolest, my most favoriteest, and that is the warp tool. So it's so special. It's over here in its own little, here's all my transforms, and look, it's all by itself. The warp tool, what that does is it basically creates a vector mesh. Now a vector is a path. Okay, now I've got these vectors that will like change from straight lines to curves and stuff, but don't worry about that if you don't know what a vector is. What this one does is it's basically created a mesh over top of this, and I don't have to work with just my corners, although I can. And look, it's almost like it's become rubber. So I can make it look like a page is turning, okay? I can, and I don't even have to grab the edges. I could grab the middle. Let's say there's a bulge behind this. Okay, it's like it's become this rubber sheet and I can distort it. This is a great tool if I want to change perspective. Let's say that I need to wrap these bricks around a column and make it look like, you know, a tower. That's what this warp will do. And warp allows us to basically click, you can see the grid, will allow us to basically click anywhere in here and distort it. Okay? Now, if you're working with something that has, I'm going to go ahead and accept that because I love it. If you're working with anything with lines, you want to be careful about how they distort and transform so that it doesn't, you know, dead giveaway that this is Photoshop, because obviously bricks don't bend that way. But if this were something like any other photo or cloth, a photo of a tree, anything, you could distort very easily with this transformation tool. There you go. That's the transformation tools kind of in a nutshell. The only thing I think you need to sort of like take away from this and remember is that there are quite a few options and that you need to make sure that you hit accept or reject or hit enter when you're done. All right. I hope that was helpful, guys. Nice short one today. Let me know in the comments if there's anything you'd like me to cover, and I will see you soon. Thank you. Be well.